What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of our Pirates rebuild here in Out of the Park Baseball 26, where today we will be doing the 2026 first-year player draft. So last we left off, we had simulated the first couple of picks, and now we are on the clock at number 4. We also have picks in the second round at number 6, the fourth round at number 6, and the fifth round at number 6. So we're going to open up by making those picks here on camera, and then I'll kind of do the rest of the draft off camera and loop back around and go over the results with you guys after we've sort of finished everything. But before we get started, I just wanted to say thanks for the support on the first couple of videos. If you, find yourself coming back here on the regular, I would definitely appreciate a like, or, I'm happy to talk about the team in the comments as well if you want to get involved that way. But even if you don't, I'm just happy you're here. So I just want to say thanks for checking these videos out. I really appreciate it. But once we move through the draft, the plan for today, just to kind of get your expectations in check, we're gonna do the draft. Like I said, we're gonna move through, get to the All-Star break. We're gonna review kind of all the information that comes out around this time. Did we have anybody in the futures game? Did we have anybody make the NL All-Stars? And then we're going to kind of, depending on how the win-losses shake out, decide if we're going to be sellers at the deadline or not. I think we're kind of just right in the middle currently, where, we're literally in the middle of the Central, and 7.5 back isn't overwhelming. It's definitely going to be tough, but a hot month, who knows? We're only 5 out of a wild card, but all of that said, if we were to start sliding here in the middle of July, it's likely we would turn into sellers. But we can kind of revisit this conversation after the first-year player draft. I want to get this out of the way first. And, we had looked at a bunch of prospects toward the end of last episode, and obviously there's a clear talent that we value at the top of the board. The only issue is that it's a question of money, right? If we go to all players, Alex Harrington is our 80 grade potential guy. It's just that he wants $11.5 million, which is more than we have currently allocated at our draft budget. So there's kind of two thoughts of what we could do here. Our slot value is 7.8, so we could play at slot value for the first pick. We could, really go over with our second slot and then, ride around slot for this, and then that sort of taps us out on our budget. That would be one approach, get 2 quality players there. But that's not the approach we're going to use. We're going to take Alex Harrington, and we're going to rearrange our scouting budget to accommodate this expense. I'm just not willing to pass up an 80 grade glove like this at shortstop. Even if this bat regresses, we think, he may have a Nick Gonzalez-esque profile where he's really good at gap power and, BABIP and contact, but, hypothetically, he's an even better defender than Nick Gonzalez can ever dream of. So Alex Harrington is going to be the pick at 19. I don't know that he's going to get to go to A-ball this year, but next year, once the rookie league kicks off, we're expecting big things out of him. I think if we were to push him to A-ball, it would be just a little bit too aggressive. He could definitely defend there, but I would worry about any sort of negative effects from that. So the 6'2 righty committed to Stanford will be our first pick here in 2026, and we're going to meet his demand too. I also considered just drafting him and trying to go back and forth in negotiations over maybe a slightly lower demand, but I'm not willing to, I don't necessarily trust myself to do that properly, so we're just going to meet the demand of $11.5 million, and Alex Harrington is the pick at 4. So we think we found our franchise shortstop, or at least we are hopeful. But I'll kind of manually go through the next few picks here just to kind of see how the rest of the top 10 shakes out, and then we'll just simulate to our next pick at the top of the second round. But Zion Rose goes Next, I actually have drafted him previously and pivoted him to an outfielder. In previous year's games, he does really strike out quite a lot, so he's not necessarily my favorite prospect. Washington goes Lombard to pair with Ethan Holiday, who they drafted last year, so they've really done a great job. I like Jacob Lombard a lot in these games because he's great in the infield and in the outfield as well. So super versatile, even though he doesn't know a lot of positions out of the box. Daniel Cuvée, we're going to go with Cuvée. I don't know that for certain, but a big power corner infield type, going to strike out a ton. Just kind of risky. I don't really love it, but a college bat, you could dream on him being ready somewhat early, I guess. So he goes to the Angels, so I guess that means he'll be called up by the time we're in September. The Royals go Keon Johnson. In past games, he would always turn into a captain. So this is a good pick for them. High school, second baseman more likely than shortstop, but good bat, well-rounded, good leader. Kevin Roberts Jr. finally goes to Toronto, so probably the biggest tooled out outfielder in the draft. Big power, 6'6", good range. Honestly, is a two-way player, although he won't be at the majors. So really high upside pick for Toronto, who hopefully found their center fielder of the future. And then we have the Padres here at 10. And they go Roussel Shepard, so the heir to Xander Bogaerts there, possibly. The very defensive first shortstop, lefty bat. So Parker Lowe is still on the board, the IMG shortstop, and a lot of the pitchers, too. We've only had, we actually had no pitchers taken up until this point, so all of the pitchers still on the board. Justin LeBron, Lorenzo Laurel, a lot of guys still left, but let's just go ahead and simulate and see who's on the board at our next pick. We'll kind of recap who's been taken. Okay, I'm looking here at just kind of the recommendations. I like Jaworski Lane a lot, but we're not going to get distracted by that. I see a couple of names that I did like ended up going, so excuse me. Parker Lowe is the pick of the Diamondbacks. We liked him. We liked Jackson Willits. He went to the Braves. Justin LeBron to the Reds. Laurel to the Red Sox. Braden Harris was the high school pitcher we kind of liked. Cleveland. McIlvain goes to Philly. Gracia to Chicago. Cameron Flukie unfortunately goes to the Yankees. I would have heavily considered him at this pick. And then DeCaro goes to Detroit. He had a pretty high bonus demand, so I don't know that we would have been able to pull that one off. Since we took Harrington 1, I think we need to underslot our next pick, ideally, and maybe even just be right on slot value. Christian Lim, I liked him even though he's only 5'11". Nolan Souza is a pretty good, just like ready-made college bat I liked. So TJ Pompey. Ike Irish was not signed last year. I saw him in this class, and he failed to sign with Tampa Bay last season. So he was back in the draft this year, I guess, and ends up being the selection of the Yankees in the supplemental picks there. And then there's just a big run on pitching here. So Colin Fisher and then a couple of other guys here. So let's look at the mock before we go into the full list to see. So we have a pitcher here from Clemson, Justin Legurnick. Definitely toolsy and great measurables, but I don't think I'm willing to risk the control attribute being so low there, even with the great personality. It's just a little scary for me to take that, but you love everything else. The homer and the movement, the stuff can be above average. So definitely an interesting guy. But I just don't know if I'm willing to take 35 control here. And like the high school pitchers, I'm inclined to say no. We can take a closer look when we get to the sortable list. But Chase Brunson is pretty ready-made out of the box. Deion Cole is more upsidey. Kyle Johnson could be interesting. And then, there's Jaworski Lane. We know Gabe Gackle has really loud stuff. Krasner is a high school lefty who's pretty far away, though. Cade Fisher, I think we do like. So our scout would have us take R.J. Cope, the big 6'8" lefty high schooler, two-way player. I just don't know that the pitching is like going to be there ever. I think it's just the accumulation of attributes. I've gone on this rant before with two-way players. It's just like their potential is valued at such a high grade because they're getting attributes in the aggregate across both hitting and pitching. The stuff is never like I just don't think he's our guy. Jaworski Lane I had mentioned just because he brings a bunch of versatility, and the bat is like pretty good. It's definitely more contact focused, but you think the fielding is definitely going to be there, and he's durable. So for a high schooler, he's relatively safe. As long like this power is, if that regresses, then you're really just looking at a contact first fielding center fielder. So there's some risk there for sure. And then Tyler August here, out of Delaware. So honestly, not bad. 4 pitches, 3 of them above average. Well, all 4 of them above average, 2 well above average. High work ethic. Fly ball pitcher, good velo, good stamina, normal release characteristics, nothing funky. I could honestly see us taking him. Very easy, under slot, 180. How's his underlying? The whip is high. Batter's hitting 246, strikeout to walk 11. It's not dominant stuff from him. So the control is obviously a little borderline. We'll see if we can find somebody else better in the pool. I'll do my best, guys. If you watched last draft, I'm sorry. that was really painful. I'll try to do better of moving quicker this time through it. Ethan Bass. Okay. No, he's really far away. In terms of bats, like Brunson, again, is like pretty good, safe. I just feel like righties struggle in our park. I don't know if that's just coping. I don't think I'm going to take a bat here. It's worth looking at them, I guess, just to make sure no one crazy is here. But I just don't think we're going to do that. I'm leaning college pitcher. So I'm just like scanning to see if there's maybe a name that jumps out to me in these first 45 grade guys here. Andrew Wiggins from the Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves, from Indiana. It's not all bad here for a college guy. It's just like in the second round, I think I want a little more. Jay Troney. I feel awful saying that, sorry. James Tronstein. You like he went to a good high school. Potentially a good contact outfielder. He's honestly very similar to Jaworski Lane in that sense. So I would be curious to run a comparison of their attributes if maybe one of them is available for us in the 4th round. But let's go to the pitchers, because we're going to have to dig in here and figure out who we want. Again, I feel like a lot of these guys are off the table for us because we already went over slot in our first round. So I'd really love to go with Volcheco from Stanford here, because, you love this velo. You love the stuff. The 80 grade fastball. Control upside is there. it's odd to not see the stuff be there with, like, should all these pitches develop, you would think there would be more to tap into, but I don't think we can do $7.5 million on top of the $11.5 million we already did. So I think what's our slot value here? 1.8. So we can play at the top with Legurnik, but we already looked at him. We didn't love his control. Tyler August, we did like. He is the righty from Delaware with the high work ethic, so that's a point in his favor. Kyle Johnson, I do like, but I think the bonus demand just takes him off the table, and same for Liam Peterson, another big power pitcher. The bonus demand is going to take him off the table. Tanner Wiggins is a reliever, although you could call me a homer if we drafted him. But I don't think there's starter upside, so he's probably not for me. So let's take a look at these 45 grade guys to see. So Nate Britton is solid, I know. But is he necessarily better than the guy from Delaware? I don't think so. They're pretty similar. Let's see. Ben Cleaver wants a decent amount of money, but he is a lefty with good control. Oh, but he's a real soft tosser, and we don't see much velo upside there, so he's probably not my favorite. Kenton Deverman is throwing 85. Good God. Yeah, we're not gonna touch that. Sorry, Kenton. Hunter Dietz actually looks decent, except the homers obviously scare you. But coming from Arkansas, good work ethic, lefty, 3-pitch, but they're just going to be average pitches. I'm not in love. I don't really have interest in taking a high schooler, even though Krasner I know is like potentially good, although now that I'm looking at it with a fresh brain, I don't know. Probably not here. Let's keep going to the 45s. This is like a pretty long list, so let's see. Oh, he's a reliever, so we're not interested in that. Brandon Liu. Again, I don't know with some of these guys. Renfro is here. Historically, he's been okay. I just don't love where his ratings are at according to our scout. I like the work ethic and the leader, but I don't know that I love him. Tyler Pitzer's there too, who could be good, but the control down at 40 is a little iffy. I would like it to at least be 45. Petrovich from Auburn, 4 pitches, but not the best stuff. So, not really in love with that. Brennan Sieber from Vandy. This is pretty promising, actually. High work ethic, IQ, adaptability, ground baller with decent velo, good control. Most likely going his slider as the primary is odd. Let's see how his splits are. Yeah, so he's going to be more effective against righties than lefties, which is a little scary, but that's what you would think with a slider as the primary pitch. So he's kind of an oddball there. Cole Stokes I don't think is a starter. No. And then the last 2 guys here we'll take a look at. This guy's pretty well balanced across the board. High bonus demand though. We're probably out on that, and this guy's not really wowing me. So I guess if I were to double back to the beginning, maybe we only look at starters here. If we're looking at our 50 grade tool guys, I think Tyler August is the one I like most. I think I prefer him just because the pitches themselves, like the stuff is going to be so good. And, good stamina. This guy, I just think the control is too low for Lagurnik, even though he is a lefty, which we don't have a great lefty. I would like him, so I'm leaning August. The thing I'm going to do before checking is just look at the mock draft to kind of see where he's projected to go and kind of how things might. So Lagurnik is already projected to be off the board at this point. Cam Haynes, I'm not wowed by this. So at 3.4, we're probably out on that. I'm only looking at pitching, really. Kyle Johnson, we looked at. His stuff wasn't really all that overwhelming. Or no, the deal breaker with him was he wanted $5.5 million, which is over our slot. Gabe Gackle. Okay, August is our projected pick, actually. So funny enough, he's there. Parker Detmers. From Louisville, like Reed's brother, right? We don't really like him. Just to put it bluntly, we don't really like his vibe. I'm pretty sure Pettit wants big money, so he's probably no. I wanted to look at Gackle. He wants 7.5, so yeah, he's probably not our guy either. It's starting to look like August is our guy. So we've already looked at Krasner. What's up with this Langdon guy? He's a lefty, but he's so far away now. Okay, so I think the decision is pretty clear. Gosh, Lagurnik is already graded out at a 35, though. I don't know what that could be. Like, it's just his movement, right? Being so good. Yeah, geez, he's already a 55 at A-ball. So this could, come back to bite us, I guess. If we were to run a comparison on them, let's check out. Okay, it's feasible he could run into a home run issue at A-ball, but I just like the 4 pitches for August here. Let's do a quick comparison, though, on their potential. So Lagurnik's these home run and movement profiles are outrageous, but I just the control screams future reliever, right? But if we total this up to 50, he's got only 25 on this side, so it's a plus 25 attribute advantage to Lagurnik. When you think about it like that, I mean, it's kind of insane. But, I just feel like Tyler August is going to be the steady guy for us, What does OSA say? So, OSA thinks he has less movement and higher stuff, which turns out to be 5 more points of potential. So they view his fastball as only 65 grade, but we'll say 3 well above average 70 grade pitches. We see a little differently. We view his fastball as well above average, and the curveball is elite. So not too much difference, but a little bit of difference. That's interesting. And then the difference here is actually we think that Lagurnik can tap into 5 more points of stuff, and we think he's a little further along. But, good personality. What do they think about his pitches? Just so average, right? I think he's too scary for me. high development risk. August is medium. We're more confident in our scouting of him as well. So I think he's going to be the pick. We're going to save a bunch of money here, which is going to be good for our, finances once we rearrange things after the draft. But let's go with Tyler August here, the right-handed pitcher from the University of Delaware, who looks like he was also in the portal to go to Liberty. So he's going to be our guy. We're going to meet his demand of $180K. Awesome. So 2 down. Let's go ahead to the 4th round and see who we have available to us. We'll just auto draft. Okay. I'm not going to go through every pick that happened, but I am curious who went right after. So Liam Peterson, one of those big, expensive power pitchers, and then the guy we were considering, the lefty, goes immediately after that. Renfroe goes, Cope goes, Fisher goes, Johnson goes, Gackle goes, Seaver goes, Pettit goes. Big pitching run here, like 10, 15 straight pitching picks. Volcheko finally goes. Seattle gets a big power pitcher. Good for them. Stephen Milam. Chase Brunson finally goes to the Twins, and Jaworski goes right after him to the Red Sox. Andrew Wiggins comes to New York. Bogenpole's pretty good. A lot of pitching. Tanner Wiggins goes, so I can't take him. And that brings us back on the clock. So I don't really have big needs in mind, I guess. Other than just the idea that it would be good to save money. There is this catcher who's impossible to sign still on the board. Nate Britton is still on the board. Or Brighton. We'll have to look into that. This profile is pretty decent I would say. But I'm sort of thinking we should pivot back to batting here. I would love to see what's available. Our scout, I remember, would like us to take Bristol Carter, and then Petrovich, Koziel, Cooper Clark those are our scout's preference. So maybe we'll just look at him here. I do like Bristol Carter. Good speed, good defender, pretty far along already. We have Gavin Turley in our system, the outfielder we took last year, who's defensive first. And he's actually having a tremendous year in the minors. I need to show y'all his stat line. We pushed him up to high A. But Bristol could be interesting. Petrovich, we looked at. We're just not wowed by anything here, and the personality is a little off. So don't know that he's the guy. This guy looks decent. Camden Koziel, Arkansas, underslot, lefty bat, second base, can also play first. Okay. Good personality, line drive hitter. Power's never going to really be there, but you like the BABIP, I like the gap. They view him as elite on the dirt. We may come back to this guy. He's pretty interesting. And then Cooper Clark, a righty. Decent movement, but don't love the personality. I think there are other pitchers I like more. So let's go back to the batters here and sort through. So we have a decent amount of 45 grades here, not too many. Tronstein is still here, which I may end up just taking a big swing on a high school guy. He's committed to Stanford. Like I said, good high school, Harvard Westlake. A lot of flexible, tools here where, maybe he could even play infield, right, with these 55 grade tools. So good speed, contact first outfielder. I think we could definitely do worse, but he may be our best choice. But let's just start at the top. Garrett Bohm, Texas Tech, third baseman. Not wowed by this. Probably no on him. Dion Cole is also a developmental high schooler, but at $3.4 million, that's going to be a no. Connor Como, Comu, not sure. He's only committed to Oral Roberts. All of these hit tools are like so far away. I think this is a case of being baited by the pitching attributes. Not that he can't be a good player, but ground ball hitter, I don't really like that. Andrew Costello, decent defender, deuce. Committed to Wake, so pretty good. Typical catcher bat. I don't mind him. 800K is a little steep, like for the skill set rather. So maybe we'll go a different direction. Alejandro Covas. So I like all of this. Pull hitter, but he's a righty. Only an average competition level where he OPS'd under 1,000. So I think that might be the bait, is that maybe he's not as good as his production suggests, although I do kind of like him. So maybe in a later round if he sticks around. Braden Holcomb, Vandy, great competition level. Could tap into the power, but the 40 hit tool, okay, OSA sees him a little differently. I just don't know. I get so scared taking first baseman because they all look like this, and I'm just like, how is this going to translate? Plus, he's a righty first baseman, which I don't love. I usually favor the lefties. So, I don't know. Not a big fan. Koziel, we looked at. Honestly, we may still come back to him because he has that first base versatility. Only 5'10", though, but lefty. And being so far along is really what's giving him the advantage. Antonio Morales, also from Wake. Not much of a defender. Bat is decent, but nothing too special. Anthony Murphy, high schooler, good pop, good personality, but pretty far away. So I don't know. Jaron Purify, pretty young for a college guy. Only second base. But I do like that he's still just 20 years old. Outfield versatility if we wanted it. Maybe we'll need to compare him to some of the other guys. Soup. I've had Soup in, I think, both of my previous rebuilds. Good defender. I don't think we're going to take him here. So there's two more guys down here. Malachi Washington. Big fielding upside. The bat is too scary for me to take. And Dean West, a college guy from UCLA, but I don't like the ground ball hitting and the lack of power, so probably no on him. So my favorites were probably Bristol Carter, if we were to go outfield. If we wanted the college guy, I kind of like him. Everything is kind of average or above average. Kovas, also decent if we compare. So currently Kovas does have an advantage, but in the long term we still favor Carter by a pretty large margin. So it's actually helpful to see it like this, like all filled in. Like both these players, I would definitely prefer Carter, right? So far Carter has the lead. Koziel, if we compare the bats there, against Carter rather. He does have a 5-point overall advantage, so a little bit more gap power with Koziel. And everything else is even, right? So now maybe Koziel is in the pole position. And then I did want to look at, I don't think I like Morales. Purify is who I wanted to see. So against Koziel, yeah. I mean, this is not going to stack up, I can already tell. Like, there's too much 45 here. So Koziel is, I think, our guy, unless Jay Troney can make a come from behind here. We do have high scouting accuracy on him, so Jay Troney here. I mean, that profile looks pretty good, right? Against Koziel, we think the power is going to be a little less, the gap power less, but he's not going to strike out. And the eye, let's go also against Carter, just in case. So Carter has a +5, like, advantage overall on him. So I think we're down to Carter or Koziel then. It's a pretty, sound way of doing business, I think. Let's look and see if we can find them in the mock and see, like, if that maybe informs our decision at all. So Jay Troney is projected to go by now, but he's lingered. Why do I know this name? Oh. Okay. Sorry. Distracted. Trey Beard. We need to go back and look at pictures, which I may do off camera next, because this is kind of lingering. I know some of you sickos really like this, others probably not. But I think we want to go bat here, so I'm trying to find Cam Leiter's back in here. Looks like he didn't sign. Okay, Koziel's projected to go first in the 4th, which we're in the 4th now, so it wouldn't be a huge reach to take him. And then in the 5th, Carter is here, but he's projected to go after our pick, so Justin Best. So I think that pretty much does it for us. We're going to go with Camden Koziel, and I'm going to have to verify how to say his name because he's on our roster now. But I like going underslot after going over in the first round, and I think we're getting one of the most talented players left, at least according to our scout. So I feel good about meeting his demand and bringing him on board. So let's go to the next pick and see if Carter is there. He is unfortunately gone, so that's a bummer. Purify goes to the Dodgers. Malachi Washington goes to Cleveland. Carter goes to the Red Sox. So bit of a whiff there. Jay Troney goes next, staying in California. So let me get off camera here and sort out the rest of this draft. We'll do picks 5 through 20, and I'll be back to update y'all on how everything shakes out. Okay, y'all, we are back and ready to recap here our 2026 draft. So I don't think we're going to go through all of these. I felt like the back end of the draft was a lot weaker than in 2025, at least from our scouts' perspective. So we'll probably only go through the first 10 or so, but you'll remember the first couple of guys we took. We ended on Koziel here. In the 5th round, we went back to the pitching well, and we got Luke Rodriguez from UCLA. We just felt like he was the most well-rounded of the remaining pitchers, and while the control is slightly below average, we like that all of his pitches will be above average, and we don't mind the velo, and the decent traits help out. So the big 6'4" righty from UCLA was our 5th round pick. Next up, we reviewed this guy in our 4th round pick, but Alejandro Kovas from Youngstown State. We decided to take the gamble on the smaller school outfielder just because we felt like this personality is really good and he doesn't put the ball on the ground too much. Decent fielding attributes, 3 above average, hit tool attributes. So at the time, felt like he was pretty safe, even if we sort of are weary of, or I guess skeptical of the competition level. So Kovas was our 6th round pick. Then we really liked this one reliever, Cole Stokes. I just felt like the stuff was dominant and the movement was going to be awesome. Taking him in the 7th is like maybe a little bit aggressive, but I liked him out of Oregon. Big 6'5" righty, so even if the control doesn't come along all the way, we just like the stuff, plain and simple. So we took him 7th, and then went back to the outfield for Nolan Stevens, a corner outfield bat out of Mississippi State, who maybe has a little bit of power upside. It was sort of at this point we were struggling to find quality talent. So we took him 8th, and then we went back to the pitching well for another college arm out of Clemson, Jacob McGovern. We like him because he's a lefty and the good personality. While nothing is like going to be super standout in his attributes, we're, I guess, hopeful that our coaching and his personality mesh really well, and he can give us value as a lefty. So, that's pretty much it. At this point, I sort of panicked and realized I didn't take a catcher, so we went with this guy, Cashel Duggar. Not sure, but he's from UCLA, so good school. Who knows? Probably just minor league depth. Jax Ryan, again, sort of like middle infield utility, but we like that he has 4 average attributes, and Arizona State's a good school, so spray hitter, good on the base paths. He's maybe a steal. And then maybe the last guy we'll touch on is Grayson Smith, another reliever out of Tulane. 4-pitch mix, like big stuff on all of this that we like. Good baseball IQ. So if any of these other guys make waves, you'll hear from them eventually. But that was the 2026 draft, headlined by, of course, Alex Harrington here, who we're really excited to have on board. I guess if you were curious on the money side, you'll remember originally we had 11.2 allocated, and we finished $1 million over, 12.2. So because of that, we ended up dropping our scouting budget by a good bit to give us a little more flexibility down the stretch. If ticket sales continue to slump, this could whittle further down closer to 0. So I wanted to give us a little bit of cushion should that happen, but overall not an egregious overslot. We were pretty disciplined with our 2nd through 5th round picks, not going over slot with any of them really. So we'll hope to get these guys signed soon, and then I'll push anyone in these later rounds up to A-ball should they look like they can compete there. But next steps for this video, we will go through this next week where hopefully we can keep our good momentum on the field going, finish strong heading into the All-Star break, and I'll rejoin you sometime around here to see if we have any All-Stars selected, so stay tuned. All right, guys, we're back. Since we last left off, we went on to win a series against Los Angeles, drop 2 of 3 against Kansas City, and then we get swept by Minnesota heading into the All-Star break. So not maybe our ideal outcome, heading into the break. So that leaves us at 43 and 54, 9 games under 500, 8 games back in the Central Division. And when I sort of take a step back and think about like what our strategy should be heading into this deadline and draft, I am a little hesitant to swing dramatically one way or the other. I don't want to buy. I don't want to fully sell. I'm not going to empty out all of our leverage bullpen arms. I'm not going to go trade for a big bat. So it might be a little quiet. We are still below our Pythagorean expectation on the year by like a wide margin. So I'm content to kind of keep the team as is, and I do have one move in mind I think we can make, but I'm not really looking for a full overhaul of the org. I think everyone is doing pretty well right now, and I'm committed to keeping Cabrian Hayes for the realism lore aspect, so I'm not going to move off of him. But I'll get to the move in a second that I have in mind. In the time that's passed since we were last together, the All-Star rosters were announced. So I'll take a scroll through here so you can see everyone. We don't have a ton of representation. Our only player who was selected ended up being Paul Skeens again. So despite his rocky start to the year, he's kind of righted the ship. He's got the ERA back down under 5. So he's our only guy that got selected. Our old friend David Bednar made it with Colorado, which is funny to see. And I don't think there are any other familiar faces here. No, so just Paul Skeens in the actual All-Star game, and then in the Futures game, I'll take a scroll through here as well. No, one guy who really jumped out having a strong season is Liam Doyle, the 2 WAR, striking out over 15 per 9. So it's awesome that he's in our division with this pitch mix and all of that. But not to get distracted, our representative, we only have one, and it's Connor Griffin. So no surprises here. I'm pretty sure this mirrored exactly what happened last year. So I also noticed, I guess while we're here, Ethan Holiday was crushing. He's already gotten a taste at AA. They felt he wasn't quite ready, but in A ball this year and high A, although he only played one game at IA, in A ball he's been awesome for the Nats. So good on them. Futures game MVP Tyron Lorenzo from the Tigers, I believe. At least, Tigers. Home run derby winner is Xavier Isaac of Tampa, and Ellie takes home the All-Star Game MVP. So, not too much exciting movement there. When I think about our position at the trade deadline, to circle back to that, I'm looking at all of the money on the books, and I'm thinking of how do we fit these puzzle pieces together down the stretch? Who is expendable, and what makes sense for us to do? So I don't think we even need to look at all these names down here because they're on the minimum. So if we're looking to move on from valuable guys, it's one of these bullpen arms, Jason Adam, Santana, or Ferguson. And since we have these guys on 2-year deals, it's pretty clear that we need to move on from Dennis Santana, who has had a tremendous season for us. He's got 1.8 WAR, hasn't allowed a homer all year, low ERA, whip just right on average, FIP is tremendous. You could argue he should be our closer. If we go to our pitching stats and sort by shutdown, Caleb Ferguson is at the top, and our closer Jason Adam is third. Santana's right in the middle. He's been awesome, like a 3-1 shutdown meltdown ratio there, and I kind of just want to cash in. I don't foresee us like signing him to a major deal. The tools aren't super loud with him, so any regression, his like performance is a little fragile, I think, with this profile. So I kind of want to cash in. He's out of ARB years. This is a contract year for him, so we're thinking it makes sense to move on. And where would we want to send him? If we look at the standings, like we want to go to a contender, preferably not in our division as well. Ideally, we send him to the AL. So I did some shopping, and I was looking at all these teams like in contention and sort of their deficiencies, and I landed on the Texas Rangers here, who are, having a tremendous year, top of the West. But when you look at their bullpen a little closer, they're missing Carlos Estevez, who's on like an extended leave. They have the Mountain on the back end and Robert Garcia. But these other guys here, these other righties are kind of, they're not crushing it. So I think they could slot Santana right in, and they would be happy to do so. So I did some shopping. I didn't want to go super crazy with them. They don't have the best system to begin with. I'll show you kind of the deal that, the players that we were kind of looking at. So they only have like one 60 guy. I'm not going to take that. Some of these 50 guys, like fine. Like I'm not going to go after Jamie Arnold. And I'm not like super, I'm not fiending for a position player, if you kind of follow what I'm saying. So I'm content to do a pitcher swap. So we're going to be retaining all of his salary, and I think we've got a real steal here. They're looking for somebody who can contribute like this year in the majors. They're trying to win a World Series right now. Santana's going to help them do that. We're going to get 24-year-old minor league reliever Skylar Hales, and you look at this profile, you're like, wow, this looks really good. This looks tremendous. Big stuff. Good at holding runners, decent. He's a former 4th-round pick in 2023, but they just have him sitting like deep in their minors right now. They're not using him at all. And while I don't think he should factor for us quite yet this year with these movement ratings, I think we would likely start him in AAA because he, has put up no stats to this point in AAA, but like he should ideally go there and destroy, and hopefully that movement comes up and we can have a cost-controlled reliever for the next, 5 or 6 years here. So even though it's just a reliever for reliever swap, I think, the idea of having this guy around over, the long haul really appeals to me. So we're going to execute this trade and complete it. So Santana is gone, end of an era for Dennis with us. I really enjoyed having him on the team, but I don't think we had any like reason to keep him. I'm trying to be smart at the deadline here and be realistic, and capitalize on the value while it's there. So Hales is going to go straight to the International League and hopefully shove for us. Superman Skylar is our newest arm. The corresponding move with this that we have in mind is obviously Mitch Keller has been on rehab, and he made another start, which was not good. But at this point with the All-Star break, I'm thinking this is a nice time to just call him up and kind of reset everything we have pitching-wise. So we're going to pull him out of rehab, or off his rehab assignment. Sorry, Mitch. And we're going to look to get him back in the rotation. But where does he slot in? So first of all, we're going to move Burrows up to setup and have him just fill the Santana role, because when we look at shutdown, meltdown, he's our next best guy. Honestly, Rogers has 8-to-1 ratio, but I'm not quite ready to go there yet with him. So we'll let Burrows go. He's a little more proven. He has a higher strikeout rate. He's not giving up the long ball, at a super high rate. Batter's hitting 182. I think all of that aligns for him to get first shot at it as a, leverage righty. And I'm looking at Bubba Chandler, you guys. His first full season has really not gone according to plan. He's been sliding the past month or so. He had one good start year where he struck out 9, only walked 1, but the rest of the time he's giving up a ton of earned runs. I'm wondering if he needs like a little internal reset, and I think the best way of doing this is to give him middle relief innings, and then Keller goes back into the rotation. Who knows, over like the long haul, like maybe we make changes, but that's sort of what I want to do for the time being, is slot him in at middle relief and see how that plays for him. I think the stuff will be tremendous in the bullpen. Obviously, we don't want him here long term. We pre-locked his development to sort of prevent the AI from reshaping him as a reliever or anything like that. So we're going to see how this goes with Bubba kind of in middle relief. So now we have Oviedo and Chandler slotted in here. I know this might be a little controversial to do this, but if Keller underperforms, like, we could move things around with him. Like, there's flexibility here. I just think because Chandler's struggling as of late, this is the direction we're going to go. So I think that's all, as far as moves go, we're not going to do much else. Skylar Hayes is going to be our closer at AAA for the time being. We still have Stratton down here. If we need to call him up in an emergency, we can. He's been pretty good. So we're just going to, I think in the episode here, we've covered a lot of time with the draft and the trade deadline here, but in the next half, the next video, we'll look to just cover the remainder of the second half. So I'm not going to go into as much detail as maybe I did in the first part of the season. It just depends how it goes, right? If we are ascending heading into September, maybe we'll go series by series and look at the performance. If we're playing ourselves out of contention entirely, we'll probably move through it a little quicker and not worry too much about it. But I think this is a good place to end the video off here. We only covered about a week and a half of actual game time, but a lot of reshaping of the future of our franchise with the draft and the trade. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the draft, if you would have made any different decisions, and kind of give me a trade grade on the pitcher swap we made. But I'll be back with you shortly with the remainder of 2026. Fingers crossed we can still sneak into a wild card. That would be my dream, but I'll check you guys in the next video here in just a bit. Thanks for watching. See you next time.